Addict named Christopher. I'd like to thank my higher power, who I choose to call Jesus Christ, for allowing me this opportunity to get things right. I've been trying to make this video, but I have a hard time making it at my house. I stay around the water, so it's a rigid connection that I get. I guess, satellites and internet bouncing off the waters or whatnot, all that reflection is, all that, conspiracy stuff. But anyway, what is Juneteenth? Now, the significance of Juneteenth. People think that it was surrounded around 1863's Emancipation Proclamation being signed, and after that we were freed. But then it wasn't until 1865 that the slaves in Texas found out 2 years later. That's not what it actually was. Now, the real history, according to Henry Louis Gates Jr., he points out how the Emancipation Proclamation was a liberty bill. It was a piece of legislation that gave partial freedom to the slaves. That's what the Emancipation Proclamation was. Because the only reason it was put into play was because the Civil War was taking place. And the Union soldiers were getting their tails handed to them by the Confederates, by the South. And they needed help. And so they came to an agreement, they being the Union, Abraham Lincoln, the North, came to an agreement that said we need more hands on deck. We need more bodies, more troops. And they said, well, we have all this slave labor, why don't we put them to work? But Abraham Lincoln said, well, they're not just going to fight, and die just for us, only to go back into shackles should we win. So let me sweeten the pot. If you choose to fight for us during the Union, during the Civil War, and we win, you will earn your freedom. You will earn your freedom from slavery. That's what the Emancipation Proclamation was. That's what 1863 was. Now, as it related to the slaves in the South, the deal was if you made it from the South over the Mason-Dixie line, because that was the separation line that separated the North from the South, that separated the Union from the Confederates. If you made it from the South over the Mason-Dixie line into the North, then you would be free. But not only that, if you made it from the South to the North over the Mason-Dixie line and choose to fight on our side of the Union, not only will you be considered, free, but it was a sweet deal to the slaves in the South, because who wouldn't want payback on the Southern whites who may have raped or killed their, family members and so on and so forth. So that's what the deal was, which is why Abraham Lincoln had Union troops lined across the Mason-Dixie line, helping to usher slaves from the South to the North. So there we have the Underground Railroad piece coming in. And we know only about the Underground Railroad because of a black man by the name of William Steele, who documented the history of the Underground Railroad, a foundational black American. But as it related to the significance of the slaves in the South, it wasn't that they found out that they were free in 1865. The war was won in 1867. The 13th Amendment was ratified in 1865, which granted slaves freedom. So while the slaves in the North were already enjoying the fruits of their labor and the fruits of the 13th Amendment of 1865, we went into Reconstruction from 1865 into 1877. By 1868, black people in the North were already enjoying the benefits, were already setting up their own self-sustained cities. So by the time the slaves in the South found out that they were free federally, it was in 1868. That's the true history behind it. That the slaves in the South found out that they were free federally, legislatively in 1868 due to the 13th Amendment that was ratified in 1865. That's what it was. See, that's that revisionist history that they try to throw to you about the 1865 is when the slaves in the South found out they were free, which is why we celebrate Juneteenth. That's not the true history. That's revisionist history. And then to take it deeper, quoting Dr. Umar Johnson before he lost his mind, he points out how the difference between freedom and liberty. He says white people have freedom, black people have liberty. He says freedom is the ability to make decisions without external control. That's what freedom is. Liberty is the ability to make decisions because an external control gave you the permission. You see what I'm saying? He says that, so on one hand, you have people doing what they want to do. That's freedom. But then on the other hand, you have people doing what they want to do within these constraints because we still own you. That's what the Emancipation Proclamation did of 1863. It gave black people liberty, not freedom. And so that's the quick rundown history about it. I've been trying to make this video, but I've been interrupted at my house, due to bad signals and all that type of rigmarole. But that's the real history behind Juneteenth. And that's why we celebrate it. Because the slaves in the South didn't find out that they were free until 1868. And then when they made it to the North, they were, to their shock, black people had already begun becoming doctors, lawyers, senators, setting up their own cities in the North. That's the significance of Juneteenth. So you can check that out. Look up Dr. Henry Louis Gates. Look up the history of the Underground Railroad, Mississippi and secession, and read up on our brother William Steele, a foundational black American who was the author of the Underground Railroad. So I'm an addict named Christopher. Thank you for allowing me to share.